Youth in the foster care system face a difficult road that includes changing environments and foster families. Consider in addition to that the emotional trauma children experience who have to live apart from the siblings they know and love. You'll hear from Executive Director Stacy Sanders how her organization, Elevating Connections, helps reconnect siblings and reestablish beautiful bonds on this episode of Making Our World Better.
Welcome to the Making Our World Better podcast, where you will find motivation and encouragement through lively conversations with inspirational people who every day are making our world a better place. Now, here's your host, Jay Clark.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Jay Clark, and I'm excited to welcome Stacy Sanders, Executive Director of Elevating Connections, an awesome nonprofit making a difference for children. Stacy spent 10 years as a CASA coordinator and dependency and neglect program manager for Advocates for Children. Stacy is a strong and passionate advocate for youth in foster care, especially separated siblings. Can't wait to hear more about that. Stacy is always also passionate about helping youth post-emancipation find their voice and speak their truth through spoken word, song, comedy, and art. Stacy is recognized by the Office of Child Representative as a subject matter expert for the sibling relationship. Stacy worked and testified with incredible young people from Project Foster Power, who created the Sibling Bill of Rights to ensure that sibling relationship is maintained and supported by all the adults in their lives. Stacy has two sisters who remind her every day how important the sibling relationship is to our overall well-being. She is the aunt of 4, a niece and 3 nephews, who are the light of her life. She's born and raised in Colorado, and bless her heart, she's a diehard Broncos fan, which that's tough to admit these days. But Stacey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Jay, it's really great to be here. Thank you for having me. And I will say the Broncos are making it really, really hard.
Well, let's start simple. And I would just love for you to describe Elevating Connections and your mission to somebody that doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I love talking about it. So I founded the organization about 8.5 years ago for 2 purposes. People don't realize, and I didn't realize when I started in child welfare, how frequently siblings are separated from one another.
Wow.
Yes. And so while there are efforts made to keep kids together and siblings together, there's no one in the state of Colorado then or now that's been focusing on a sibling relationship the way Elevating Connections is. So we started because we had a summer camp that we run for kids for the siblings that are separated, and decided that while that camp is absolutely amazing and we continue it today, 1 week a year is not enough. And so Elevating Connections was founded to support the sibling relationship all year long. And when I started, and with the lovely board that started with me, I knew that I wanted to work with older youth and that the arts was going to be part of everything that we do. I had the dream of being a ballerina, of course, when I was younger. And since I'm not talented enough for that, I'm a theater buff, I paint, and I know the importance of the arts to everybody and the healing power of the arts.
Right.
So we didn't quite know what that was going to look like when we started, but we sure do now.
Awesome.
So yeah, we have 2 lines of programming, our Sibling Connections and our Youth Connections programming.
Well, and let's dig into that a little deeper. I mean, I know the foster care system's got to be super complex and tough to navigate, but when did you realize that there was really a need for an organization like Elevating Connections?
So I started in child welfare in 2011 and quickly learned that siblings are separated and the impact that has. I mean, if everyone takes a moment to think about that, if you're not familiar with the foster care system and you come home from school one day and your sisters or brothers are in another home and you're told that you're going elsewhere, the impact of that is as traumatizing, if not more so, than leaving than the abuse they suffered in their home. So it wasn't long after our second year of camp, which was in 2014, that it was clear that the kids that we're serving need more contact and need more support and the adults in their lives needed more education on how to do that. And so that's when there was a discussion had with some folks that I work with, and it was very clear we needed to do something that provided year-round programming.
Well, I'd love to talk about that a little bit more too, because there has to be just multiple layers of trauma that the kids are dealing with here. Being in the foster care system to start with is traumatic. Then I can't even get my head around like you were just saying, the trauma of being separated from your siblings. So talk about the programming that you guys do to help the kids deal with all this heavy trauma.
Yes. One of the focuses that we have is building connection and community. And so helping all of the youth that we work with understand what that means and then the importance of connection. But with the siblings specifically, we have monthly sibling connecting events. So they have the opportunity to come together. This month, we are making calming jars, and there's other art projects, and we always have lunch and other games and activities where the kids just get to be kids. So we do those monthly.
And together. They get to be
together. Yes. They get to be together, and they get to be with other kids who are in a similar situation. So everyone kind of understands.
Right.
Our flagship program for the sibling relationship is our summer camp called Camp Connect. And we strengthen the sibling bond. And it's a fabulous week of camp at Camp Shady Brook in Deckers. It's a YMCA camp. And it's mostly volunteer run. I have myself and my camp director, who is a paid staff. And they get to do all the things kids get to do at camp. They swim in a lake, they do archery, they do art projects, they hike, we have a carnival night. There's a variety show that they do, all the things. And it's really an amazing week. It's an emotional week. It's a tough week. We work with the kids to help them through their triggers that they have at camp, because like you said, the trauma is real. Yeah. And I have licensed clinical social workers on my team that are there for those moments. And then we also do lots of advocacy and education. So with caseworkers, with guardians ad litem who represent the children, with parent attorneys, with judges, with foster parents, with the family kin providers, CASA volunteers. So everyone can work together for the sibling relationship from the beginning of a case opening.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about how you're integrating, your passion for arts and how that the therapeutic value of that is kind of integrated in your programs and how the kids benefit.
So our arts programming started kind of on a fluke in 2018. I had the opportunity to hear a poem written by a young lady writing about being separated from her brother. Mm. And I knew in that moment, that was February 2018, I'm like, we have to do something with this, because I can tell their stories all day long, but they're not my stories to tell. And so from that, we created an annual poetry jam. And it started with a series of workshops. So the kids come to workshops at various locations. We feed them. They get the opportunity to write whatever they want to write about, speak about whatever they want to speak about, because it's their story. And there are no parameters other than we do want them just to tell a piece of their experience growing up. But they can say what they want. We don't edit their story because it's their story.
Right.
And so since 2018, we've had 6 jams. Even during the pandemic, they're like, Stace, we need to keep doing this. So we did it online. But we rent a theater, they get on a stage, and you can physically see the difference in them after they've shared these powerful stories about their depression or their abuse. And they don't go into graphics about their abuse, but what the impact is. Mm-hmm. And the thing that has gotten me every year that I did not expect is that every single one of them has a line of hope in their work, that this can be better, that this isn't going to define me. And it's an amazing experience for them. And they come off the stage and their faces are smiling and relief, and there's tears sometimes, and they feel really proud of themselves and empowered and heard by their community.
That's awesome because you guys, you're dealing with tough, heartbreaking situations. I bet these stories are just rip you to shreds.
Yes.
But those successes, when you see a kid being changed, that has to be what makes it worth it, and how the heaviness of this doesn't, you don't take this home and everything else. Is that right?
That definitely helps. Yeah. It's those moments where they walk up to me or some of our facilitators and say, I can let that go now, or that was amazing, or thank you for the opportunity, all of those things. It's the same when we have a kid at camp come up to me and say, Miss Stacey, I had a 17-year-old boy do this a couple years ago, say, Miss Stacey, I can't thank you enough. My sister and I have never had this kind of time together.
Wow.
And it's those moments that I'm like, okay.
We're on to something.
Work. Yeah. And so, and it doesn't normally feel like work to me because they're so amazing. And the kids deserve somebody to speak up for them. And so that's what we're building here is a infrastructure and an organization that can not only help them speak up for them, but show them how to speak up for themselves.
Right.
And that's through the art. And that's how we do that. They find their voice. They've already found their voices. They have their voices inside. We help them use their voice in a variety of art modalities.
That's a great way to frame that.
Yeah, because we all have the voice. It's just bringing it out.
Yep.
And in the time that we've done our arts programming, I have a wonderful human being named Chuck Roy, who is a comedian. He is a professor at the Community College of Denver, and who has embraced our mission several years ago when he emceed our dinner. And we've now brought comedy into our storytelling and our arts, because I don't know if when people go to a comedy show and you pay attention to what their stories are, it's their story.
Right.
And some of them are dark, but people can laugh at the darkness because the shared human experiences that we all have something.
Yep.
And so we now have Ben Michaels, who is also a producer and actor, teacher. He's teaching improv. We have a new artist on board, Adelina Gonzalez, who is incredible. And so we have some activities in art, and they were at camp helping us out. So our expansion of people who are helping us and ways that allows the kids to express themselves in whatever art modality they want is amazing. We have musicians. It's incredible.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that, having an adult voice or an advocate or just somebody that will let these kids know they're being heard makes such a difference. So what are the qualities you're looking for, and what are some of the opportunities that you have for people to volunteer? Because volunteerism, like most nonprofits, is really what keeps you going. It
is absolutely what keeps us going. We have some fantastic volunteers, but as we continue to grow, we have more opportunities. So we are offering more and more workshops in different art modalities. So we need folks to, 1 or 2 volunteers to help us be there and run those and be extra adults, make sure the food is out, those kinds of things. They get to watch the kids. They can also interact with them. We always need camp counselors. We have camp the first week of August. We always need camp counselors. We need folks to help volunteer for our sibling connecting events, to come out to the park or the swimming pool or wherever we are, to spend time with them. I would love folks that like to fundraise, or we have some board openings. We're always looking for new board members who want to serve our mission, and always looking for new artists and new art modalities. I would love to offer some dance classes and opportunities, because that's a whole other form of expression. So if you've got an art or a talent that you think youth could benefit from, I'd love to talk to you.
Well, this is what's great about an organization like yours. From a volunteer standpoint, you don't have to have any I'm sure there's positions where you need some letters after your name, but for the most part, it's if I'm passionate about, fill in the blank, there's a way that you can apply that to really make a difference for these kids.
Yes, absolutely. We are planning. I'm so excited about this. The Poetry Jam is amazing, but we need more opportunities for our youth to express themselves. So we're planning an arts festival for next May. May is Foster Care Awareness Month, and I fully intend that this will be an annual event.
Nice.
But it'll give them an opportunity to not only display their work, but perhaps sell it, and show our community how incredible these young people are. They don't ask to be in foster care. It's not their fault.
Right.
They're not broken. They're not damaged. They've had trauma, and they just need folks to believe in them. And so if anyone wants to, we need sponsors, we need volunteers for that day. We're heavy duty planning for that for May 4th.
Well, and like any nonprofit, there's always a challenge when it comes to the fundraising piece and programming space and all of that. But what do you see as your biggest challenges with elevating connections right now?
It is the funding piece. And it is the challenge for every nonprofit. We write grants all the time. I've been successful with grant writing, but that's not enough to sustain an organization. So we're always looking for small businesses that want to support us, individual donors. I would love more folks who want to donate on a monthly basis. Recurring donors are really help support an organization. Yeah.
For sure. And this was kind of a tough question I always like to ask, though, is can you think of any of your favorite success stories from over the years?
Oh my, that's a great question.
Always hard to choose.
It is hard to choose. I think, I think it's the littler moments that are actually the most powerful. And so what I tell my team is that we're building moments for these kids because they're transient, right? They move placements. We don't know. And so it's those moments that I look for. For example, this will stay with me forever. For camp in 2018, we were doing an introductory game and I had a 10-year-old girl. And the question was, what's your most memorable day this year? And she said, today, because I'm seeing my brother for the first time in 3 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. And so the other, I think, great success that we have is more and more people are understanding the work we do. And we're fortunate enough to have some really incredibly kind, talented, dedicated people who are helping us out and helping the youth out. And so for an organization, we literally started with like a couple $1,000s in the bank. I worked 7 years at my other job while building this organization before I went full time. So knowing that we have more opportunities for the young people we serve now is pretty incredible.
And how are you finding, or how are they finding you, the young people that you're serving?
So we work with, there's all sorts of nonprofits in the state that work with this population. So I work with a lot of them, but also all the departments of human services. There are 64 counties in Colorado and 64 departments of human services. I work with Colorado Department of Human Services, attorneys, CASA volunteers. We reach out to anyone that works with the kids that we work with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this kind of work that you're doing is definitely not for the faint of heart.
No.
Was there an aha moment for you that you look back on when you were with CASA or with this Elevating Connections that you're like, I have to do this?
The day I got my job offer for CASA, I was in the grocery store and I did a happy dance because I knew that I found the work that I wanted to do in child welfare. The moment and my time at CASA and Advocates for Children was clear to me that I personally have a voice and a perspective and skills that I can help youth find their voice and use their voice. And so when I really understood the impact of the sibling relationship and being separated, it was that moment. It was camp, really. The first night in 2014, when all the kids sat down for dinner, and I looked around and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is where I'm supposed to be. And so Elevating Connections was born about 8 months later. So it was just that moment of siblings eating a meal together.
Oh yeah. And I love that you're raising awareness because, if you don't like you say, if you didn't know this was happening, it's like, what do you mean the siblings get separated?
Exactly.
Just the
yeah. And
cold hard fact of the system, I guess.
It is. And if you don't know folks who are foster parents, although, well, let me back up and say that we all encounter current and former youth in foster care, or know people who've adopted or are foster parents. Your kids are probably going to school with someone that's in foster care, things like that. But until it hits your world, it's not something that people pay attention to. And I get that. But it also makes this a population of young people who are overlooked.
Yeah.
And so I view part of my job as raising awareness and saying, they have every right to have the same kind of childhood and adulthood that the rest of us do.
Totally. I love that. And the sad fact is, if in a perfect world, you'd go out of business.
100%.
To say you'd go out of business, but that's likely not going to happen. So what is a big dream that you have for the future of Elevating Connections?
So our long-term goal, although we're getting closer to this goal, I'm hoping in the next couple of years, is we want to create one space where we have the Elevating Youth Cafe, our admin offices in the back, and space for them to come in, and we'll have our workshops and all of that. But the idea of the cafe is it's a more public offering for folks to learn about what we do, but it's also home base for the youth. They can learn how to run a business. They'll have space to perform. It will be a place for them to help us decide what that looks like. There'll be a community garden outside, and room inside, a mindfulness room, and a space for them to be safe, and place to come look for jobs or do homework. And all of our workshops and everything can be in one spot. So that's a common.
That's fantastic. Do you know of any other organizations around the country that are doing this kind of work that you're doing?
So I have some counterparts in other states that are running sibling camps.
Awesome.
And some of them are doing year-round programming as well. And they are dedicated, wonderful human beings. It's hard work, but it's so worth it. On the days when I'm having a day where I'm like, okay, I didn't get a grant, or my website crashed the other day, whatever those things are, I get frustrated with the system. I always remind myself that whatever I'm dealing with is not anywhere compared to anything compared to what they're dealing with.
Not the truth. Wow.
Yeah. And they're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they deserve people to champion them.
Awesome. Well, we switch gears here as we wind down a little bit. And one of the things I always love to ask people is, what's something that you will read, listen to, or watch today?
Read, listen to. Okay. I wish this was more profound and more, but here you go. I'm a big fan of the series Below Deck on. And so there's a new episode of Below Deck Mediterranean today.
There you go. Awesome.
That's what I'm going to watch tonight. Yep. Because I need to, break away from.
It's true. Sometimes you just need to escape. Yep. I understand that.
And a little known fact, Captain Sandy from Mediterranean, she and her fiance live here in Colorado, part-time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, who's a role model that you could point to that's inspired you in this work that you're doing?
There's a few, but one of the top person is Josefina Milliner. She is the Executive Director of Advocates for Children. And she was my boss for a long time, but she is a person with lived experience in the foster care system and truly a leader that cares about her people and the mission. And she's an incredible human.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So other than Elevating Connections, is there an organization that you partner with or one that you admire that you would really love to give a shout out to?
Again, there's a lot, but one of them is Foster Source. They're an organization that was started same time as me by Renee Bernard and her husband, whose name just escaped me. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But Renee, they are adoptive parents. And so they started Foster Source to support, to support foster parents, and the resources and the classes and the recertification and all the things they have to support foster parents and adoptive parents is off the charts. They're incredible. Awesome. Yeah. Brian is his name.
There you go. Awesome. Well, lastly, and most importantly, if somebody wants to volunteer, if somebody wants to support, become a monthly donor, and prop up this work you're doing, which I recommend everybody think about and consider, what's the best way to find you?
Our website, which is elevatingconnections.org. There's the opportunity to donate right there, and then you can fill out a contact form, and it comes directly to me.
Awesome.
And then I will get right back to you.
Elevatingconnections.org. We'll put that in the show notes. Stacy, thanks again. Godspeed. Love the work you're doing. Admire your passion for it, and keep it up.
Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. I always love talking about what we do. So thanks, Jay.
Thanks for listening, and thanks to Stacy for her devotion to helping children separated from their siblings in the foster care system. This podcast was brought to you by JC Charity Services. Being a leader is hard, and I'd love to help you thrive. You can find me at makingourworldbetter.com. To learn more about how you can support Elevating Connections or volunteer to help their awesome programming, visit elevatingconnections.org. Check the show notes for links, and if you enjoyed this podcast, we'd be grateful if you'd share it with a friend. Until next time, I hope you're inspired to find a way to make our world better.